Hello Facebook, hello beautiful souls. It's Anna T. Brooks here, your soul success coach. Welcome to this live stream. Say hello if you're jumping on, or if you're watching the replay, make sure you do say hello. I always love to connect with you, and I check back for the comments as well later on. So today I wanted to jump on and talk about something very specific. As if you probably have been following for a little while, you'll know what I'm talking about. Today, I'm asking the question, what if the planets aren't where you think they are? So it's a big question, and it's something that I think will kind of give you a refresh if you've been around here for a while and you know true sidereal astrology that I speak about. You're going to get a bit of a better understanding of it possibly. And if you're newer to me, say hello as well. This is going to be a really great intro just to give you some information about why it is that I use true sidereal astrology, how it works, and what it actually is, right? So that's what we're talking about today. What if the planets aren't where you think they are? You will probably hear a lot of people right now talking about how we're in Scorpio season, how we've just entered into Scorpio, the sun's in Scorpio now. And that could not be further from the truth. Well, it could be further, obviously. It could be months and months further, but it's definitely not the case. We've actually just crossed over into Libra season after a very long stint in Virgo because, and I'll explain this a little bit later, because Virgo is actually a really large constellation. We're there for like a month and a half. It's a big one. We've just now left Virgo and moving into Libra as we speak. We still have quite a while before we actually enter Scorpio. So I am definitely going to dive into this and give you the explanation so that you understand what the F I'm talking about. But if you're here, say hello. If you're jumping on the replay, say hello. Let me know any questions that you have as we go along. And yeah, let's dive in. So first and foremost, disclaimer. If you have never really felt like the chart that you're reading just doesn't quite hit it, just doesn't quite feel right. If that's not the case, if you absolutely feel like everything about your chart, the way that you understand it through maybe tropical or Western astrology is completely you, then this is not going to be for you, right? This is all about alignment. This is about finding what it is that resonates with you. However, if you've ever felt like your chart is just a bit off, it's just not really the you that you know, then listen up, because this is what this is for. So as a disclaimer, so that you understand, I am talking about true sidereal astrology, which is different to tropical and Western astrology, and I'm going to explain how that works. However, if this is, like I said, if you are absolutely married to tropical and Western astrology, this is not for you. This is not going to be of any interest to you if that completely resonates with you. This is for you if, like me, you've gotten to a point where something just wasn't right, something just wasn't fitting, and you weren't able to use what other people were thinking is this amazing information to your own advantage. So, for those of you that are new to me, I'm Anna, and I blend astrology, intuition, and embodied coaching to help you to lead from your truest frequency. So let's dive in. The first thing I want to start with is to give you a bit of context, a bit of background to my story and to how it is that I came to understand true sidereal. So I had gone through a very long time with my life. I had grown up like most people, understanding tropical astrology, Western astrology, mainstream astrology, the way that most people are introduced to it. And whilst I'd had some resonance with it, for the longest time, it just felt like I was forcing things. I was kind of pushing shit uphill. And it just didn't feel like the me that I truly knew. And it happened to be through a connection of mine that I met a beautiful soul who introduced me to the idea of true sidereal astrology. And this was a big trigger for me. This was something that really felt kind of difficult for me to really grasp, because the first thing that I learned is that my actual star sign, my sun sign, is not Gemini, it's actually Taurus. And as you know, I don't know if you're the same, let me know if you're the same, but for me and for a lot of people, we've identified with our star sign and our sun sign for a very long time, and I certainly had. And I had a lot of beliefs and a lot of things tied to what I thought was about me being a Gemini. And the idea of me being a Taurus was really, really confronting and really, really triggering. And I had to work through that, right? One of the things I learned, and one of the things that I kind of talk about here a lot, is that your sun sign, your star sign, it is not a reflection of your personality. It's really not. It's an aspect of your chart that's important to understand. It has a place, and it really applies a lot more to your strategy in life and how you do things. But it's not a all-encompassing summary of your personality. In fact, I would say that a lot of the other placements in your chart have a lot more to do with your personality. So for example, I've had quite a few people in the past actually say to me when they find this out, they're like, but Anna, you do seem like such a Gemini. I mean, you love communication, you're always connecting with people, you're always online, you're doing this, you're building a business through connection, through social media, all of this stuff. Absolutely I am. Because when you understand my chart, you know that I actually have my 3 of my planets that are Mercury, my moon, and my Venus in Gemini. So whilst, yes, I'm a Taurus star sign, I have 3 planets that are very much to do with communication and my inner world and how I actually express myself and how I show up, very much in the sign of Gemini. And that's what I mean by it can be very triggering when you don't really have much context to work with, because then you kind of think like, oh, well, my star sign is who I am. It's who I present as. No, it's a very important, but a very small aspect of you, and actually very little to do with your personality and much more to do with your, like I said, your strategy in life and how you go about things. And this is stuff that not everyone's going to see straight away, right? So if you were to take a look into my life and be a little, little bug buzzing around and just watching me operate day-to-day life, you would see that my strategy in life is very Taurian. I'm very organized. I'm very disciplined. I really like to lay things out. I like to plan things. I like to build on them. I like slow and steady growth, right? You would see that my strategy in life is very Taurian. However, obviously, if you don't see that and you just see me online and you just see what I do or something like that, it can be easy to think, oh, well, then that doesn't make sense. That's not how I see her, right? So this is where I kind of came to understand it a few years ago. And the more that I delved into it, the more it really felt like tropical mainstream Western astrology, the way that I'd grown up and that I'd learned it, it felt like what the world and who the world expected me to be. And this is going to make a lot more sense when I explain in the next section. Whereas true sidereal astrology, it felt like someone reading me for who I truly am, who I've always known I have been on the inside. And it felt like I said, it felt like someone could see me in the way that nobody else had ever seen. It was like my inner world was out on display. And this is what I often hear from my clients and from people that I work with and people that I speak to that have really aligned with this, is that that's what they feel like. They feel like they've been able to shed this kind of persona of who the world expected them to be, and into actually like, oh, this is who I am. This is like you're reading me on the inside, what I've always known, what I've always felt, but what I kind of didn't feel like anybody else could see, right? So let's dive in a little bit. I'm going to explain why it feels like that, right? Because tropical mainstream Western astrology, again, what most of us have grown up with, what I definitely grew up with, it is not based on the actual physical visible sky. It's a system that was implemented to work in with the seasons, right? So there's 13 constellations. The one that gets dropped in tropical is Ophiuchus, which is a constellation that sits between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So we're coming into that season very, very soon. And I have a particular affiliation for Ophiuchus because my husband is an Ophiuchus and I love that. So where was I? I just lost my train of thought. So tropical and Western astrology uses 12 signs. It got rid of one of the constellations to make it nice and even, and made the constellations all the same size as well. So you'll see there's 12 months in our calendar, there's 12 signs, and it pretty much just rotates that way through. Now, this is where it becomes interesting because this was based to make it very nice and easy to know in terms of seasons, to work with the summer, autumn, spring, all of that, and how it flows through for each different section, right? It makes it very trackable, very easy to use. It's a system by all means. However, like I said, it's not actually based on the physical visible sky. So like I said at the beginning, if you were to look up into the sky right now and actually get your telescope out or use your programming system that can see the visible sky, you can clearly see that the sun is moving into Libra, right? We have just been in Virgo and it's just right now, literally as I speak, moving into Libra. However, in tropical and mainstream astrology, they will tell you that it's now Scorpio season, that we have entered Scorpio season. And that's just not the case. It's not actually the physical reality. And which is why this is I guess, what I said, when I want to explain why it feels like going from who you're expected to be to who you actually are, that's often why it feels like that, because it's kind of like working with this system that's told you, well, this is how we're doing things, this is the way we're going to structure them, this is how we're going to put it, and you're going to have to just like fit into it, versus no, this is actually where the planet is. Like if you look up in the sky, you'll see it's actually in this constellation. So that's actually where it is. This is actually me. And that's a big part of the reason I feel like myself and so many people have felt that affinity and that alignment with true sidereal, because it is actually just based on where the planets and the constellations are in the physical, visible sky. So that gives you a little bit of an understanding, I guess, of where this has come from and what the difference here is. So when we look at, for example, your birth chart and your natal chart, which is what I use most often with my clients, how we integrate with the coaching and the help and the intuitive guidance that I give, it does very much feed into that. Looking at your birth chart, we are now looking at where the planets and the constellations actually were at the time of your birth, not using a system that's just like a mathematical chart basically of like, this is how we're going to say it is. It's actually looking at those positions, at where those planets and those constellations were at the time of your birth in physical, visible sky, if you were to look up from where we are, what it actually is, right? And so that's where it can be a little bit different, because obviously, like I said, if you're entering, like now or something, and you think that you're a Scorpio because that's where you've always been taught that it's between this and this date is Scorpio, when in fact, if you were to look up, you would realize that it is actually just entering Libra as we speak. So you are most likely a Libra. Or it could be Sagittarius, depending obviously. Ophiuchus, depending where you sit, right? And so this is that difference. So hoping that's making sense. Let me know in the comments if that's landing, if you have any questions, if it's kind of, it can be a lot to wrap your head around. I get it, because I definitely took a while to grasp it as well. But like I said, I lead mostly with intuition. And that meant that when I did this, when I kind of transitioned over and really dived deeper into this, everything started to make sense. The way that I coached people started to land better. It started to make more sense. It started to feel more integrated. It was just, for me, I don't really, teach you astrology to a deep level. I teach you and I support you to understand you, to master you. And that's a very different kind of vibe than just someone who reads birth or natal charts for a living. I'm the person that actually brings that birth chart into your life and helps you to actually use it and understand, how does this work with your lifestyle, with your dreams, with your visions, with your preferences, right? So if the planets aren't where we thought, what does that mean about how you've been understanding yourself, right? That's a question to consider. If you've been understanding yourself based on information that isn't actually true, what about yourself have you been maybe taking on that also isn't true? Something to ponder. So later this month, I'm opening up something really special for those of you who do want to explore and master your true chart more deeply. It's all going to be part of the yearly, this is my third year in a row, yearly Black Friday event, and I'm going to share more about that very soon. But if you are interested, keep your eyes peeled for that, because there are going to be some amazing offers available that we can definitely dive into this really deeply for you. But for now, let me just have some sip of water. If you're curious about your star sign, sun sign through the lens of true sidereal astrology, drop the word true into the comments. And this can be if you're on live, this can be if you're watching the replay, doesn't matter. Like I said, I will check back, but drop the comment true in there, and I will send you a private message, and we'll get you your star sign through True Sidereal. I'll get your details about your birth date and where you were born, so I can run the chart for you, and and then we can take it from there. So feel free to drop that in, or you can just send me a private message, whatever's easier for you, and just let me know you wanted to check what your true sidereal sun sign is, and I can do that for you. And that's it. You can tell that I'm nearly done with the live when my voice starts giving out already. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Drop it into the comments. Feel free to send me a message if you prefer as well. And I look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon. Mwah.